Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big ideas. Today, we are diving deep into a proactive strategy for longevity, inspired by the incredible work of Dr. Peter Attia. This is all about completely rewriting the rulebook for how we age.
Really think about that question. It's powerful, isn't it? This whole idea isn't just about trying to live longer. It's about living better for longer. It's about having the physical strength and the mental clarity to do all the things you love for your entire life.
And right here, this is the crucial shift in thinking. The old goal was just to add years to your life. The new goal? To add life to your years. We want our quality of life to line up perfectly with our quantity of life. So you're not just, around at 90, you are truly living at 90.
Okay, so how do we actually pull this off? How do we build a life where our health span actually matches our lifespan? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. Here's our game plan. First, we'll get to know the main villains, and then we're going to uncover the strategy and all the tactics we need to beat them.
First things first, we have to understand the primary antagonists in our own longevity story. Dr. Attia calls them the four horsemen, and these are basically the four big groups of chronic diseases that are responsible for the vast majority of deaths in people over 50 who don't smoke. But, and this is the important part, the good news is they all have a really long, slow fuse that we can absolutely interrupt.
So the first horseman is atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. You know it as heart attacks and strokes. This is, without a doubt, the world's top preventable killer. And it's a silent process. It can start way back in your 20s, where these tiny cholesterol particles start building up in your artery walls, which eventually leads to the blockages that cause all the trouble. It literally develops for decades before it strikes. This second horseman is cancer. Now here's what's different. Unlike heart disease, which tends to be most lethal later in life, cancer is actually the dominant killer in midlife. And since it's a disease of genetic mutation, our strategy has to be twofold. Prevention, of course, but also aggressive, super early detection, which we are definitely going to talk more about later.
Now this is the disease most people are terrified of, because it threatens to take away not just your life, but your very self. And what we're learning now is that its roots are deeply connected to the health of our heart and our metabolism. The clinical evidence is piling up, showing that many of the same risk factors for heart disease are direct contributors to cognitive decline.
And finally, the last horseman is metabolic dysfunction. And you could argue this is the most important one, because it's kind of like the engine that drives the other three. Just think of it as a disorder in how your body processes fuel. When your metabolism is out of whack, it creates this environment in your body that just massively increases your risk for heart disease, for cancer, and for Alzheimer's. It's the central target we have to aim for.
So, okay, facing these four horsemen, it can feel pretty daunting, right? But here's the thing. We are not helpless. We can absolutely fight back. And to do that, we need a whole new playbook. This is what Dr. Attia calls Medicine 3.0, and it is a fundamental, game-changing shift in how we think about health.
What's so amazing about this slide is the total change in mindset it represents. You see, Medicine 2.0, the old way, it plays defense. It waits for the heart attack to happen, and then it gives you a pill. But Medicine 3.0, it plays offense. It uses data to stop that heart attack from ever even happening in the first place.
And this quote just nails the whole philosophy. We don't wait for the storm to hit. We take action right now, intervening decades before a disease would normally show up while we're still healthy and the sun is shining.
Okay, so this whole Medicine 3.0 thing is completely data-driven. To play offense, you've got to know the score. So let's look at the critical numbers, the key biomarkers you need to be watching for each of these horsemen.
Now, this is a huge one that most people and even a lot of doctors miss. Standard cholesterol tests measure the weight of your LDL cholesterol, but ApoB, it measures the actual number of particles. Think about it like this. What's more likely to cause a massive traffic jam, a few giant trucks or a whole lot of tiny cars? It's the number of cars, right? Well, it's the exact same thing with cholesterol. It's the particle count that causes the disease, and ApoB is the single best way to measure it.
So the strategy here needs to be aggressive. It needs to be proactive. The goal is to get your ApoB as low as possible for as long as possible. So if you look at this chart, you'll see the average person is hanging out around the 50th percentile. The goal for optimal health is to get below the 5th percentile, so ideally under 60 milligrams per deciliter to just slash your lifetime risk of heart disease.
You know, the canary in the coal mine for metabolic problems is almost always hyperinsulinemia, which just means too much insulin. We can track this with blood tests, for sure, but also by monitoring our blood glucose with amazing tools like continuous glucose monitors. They show you in real time exactly how your body is responding to every single thing you eat.
All right, now for what is maybe the most powerful tool in our entire toolkit. If there was just one single thing to prioritize above everything else for extending your health span, this is it.
I mean, the data on this is just crystal clear. Exercise is the single most effective intervention for health span. It dramatically reduces your risk of all four horsemen, from heart disease all the way to Alzheimer's. Nothing else even comes close.
A cornerstone of this whole exercise strategy is something called Zone 2 training. The best way to think about it is like you're building the engine of your car. It's not the fastest you can go, but it's what lets you go for a really, really long time. This low-intensity, steady work trains your mitochondria, which are the little power plants in your cells, to get incredibly good at burning fat for fuel. And that is the foundation of amazing metabolic health.
And the best part is, it's so simple to do. You don't need any fancy equipment. If you can talk in full sentences, but you don't really want to, you're in Zone 2. That's it. The goal here is all about consistency, just aiming for maybe 3 to 4 sessions a week to build up a really strong metabolic foundation. Of course, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. So the next tactic is nutrition, which is all about 2 things: maintaining stable blood glucose and giving your body the right building blocks to stay strong.
Now, this strategy isn't about one specific diet like keto or paleo. It's about a set of personalized principles. Whether you do it by restricting total calories or restricting your eating window, eating less is just key to managing your energy balance. But just as important is getting enough protein to hold on to your muscle. Muscle is your metabolic currency. And finally, focusing on healthy fats that don't raise your ApoB, like the ones from olive oil and avocados, is absolutely crucial for your heart health.
So, how do we actually put all of this together? Let's translate this entire strategy into a weekly battle plan. It's all about creating a sustainable structure for the long game of health span.
This isn't about being perfect, not at all. It's about building a framework. And notice the balance here. You've got a solid base of Zone 2 for metabolic health. You've got strength training to preserve your muscle, which really is the organ of longevity. And then you have a little bit of high-intensity work to boost your cardiovascular peak. It all works together.
So, it all comes down to this. What do you want to be able to do when you're 100 years old? Seriously, do you want to be able to lift your own suitcase into the overhead bin? Do you want to play on the floor with your great-grandchildren? Maybe go for a hike. Whatever it is, that's what's called your Centenarian Decathlon. And the time to start training for it is right now.